Welcome to This Explainer. You know that feeling when someone walks into a room, barely says a word, but somehow totally dominates the entire space? Well, today we are diving deep into exactly how silence dictates the power dynamics in any environment. Look, most of us feel this overwhelming, almost uncontrollable urge to just talk. We want to fill every quiet moment, defend every little accusation, and over-explain our decisions. But what if doing the exact opposite is actually your greatest advantage? Get ready, because we're unpacking the psychology of silence. We're going to learn why zipping your lips is literally the ultimate power move, and how it's going to fundamentally change the way you show up in every area of your life.
Picture this. You're in a chaotic, heated argument. Tempers are flaring, the volume's going way up, and everybody is just talking over each other. In that kind of chaos, who's actually in control? I mean, we naturally tend to think it's the loudest guy in the room, right? The one dominating the airwaves, speaking super fast, throwing out argument after argument. But I want you to totally rethink that assumption. Think about who actually holds the real power in that dynamic. Is it the person burning all their energy, or is it someone else entirely?
You've got the frantic talker. They're loud, they're talking a mile a minute, getting totally worked up, trying to make their point, but watch what happens. Over time, they start to lose steam, they stumble over their own words, they literally run out of breath and logical points. Now, contrast them with a silent listener. This person is just sitting there calmly, saying absolutely nothing, just watching. And get this, recent communication psychology research shows that the person saying nothing, they are actually the one winning. The loud person is basically defeating themselves by using up all their ammo, while the quiet person holds all the cards without even breaking a sweat.
We really need to flip our traditional understanding of silence on its head. Silence is not just some passive absence of words. It's definitely not weakness. And it's for sure not a sign that you've been defeated or have nothing to say. Actually, scratch that. It's an active, highly effective psychological tool. It is an untapped superpower. When you choose to say nothing, you aren't surrendering. You're deploying a strategy that shifts the entire psychological weight of the conversation right onto the other person. You literally become the anchor in the room.
So why does this work so incredibly well? Well, we have to look at the psychology behind it. Basically, humans have a massive intolerance for silence. It makes us squirm. Research from Psychology Today shows that we simply cannot handle dead air in social settings. It makes us feel excruciatingly uncomfortable. So what do? We nervously fill the void. And when someone keeps talking just to avoid that awkward silence, they naturally overshare. They end up revealing exactly what you need to know, handing you all the leverage, all because you had the discipline to hold eye contact and just wait them out. Let's take this out of the lab and look at 3 real-world battlefields where this is an absolute game changer.
All right, Battlefield 1, winning arguments without words.
Let's see how this plays out when somebody throws an unfair accusation your way. Your immediate reflex is probably to jump right in, right? You want to defend yourself and set the record straight instantly. But here's the catch. APA communication research shows that when you defend yourself immediately, you actually look guilty. You come off as highly defensive and reactive. Now look at the alternative, just staying silent. When you pause and calmly look at the other person without saying a single word, you force them to sit with what they just said. The power of the pause here is absolutely wild. The accuser will usually scramble to fill the silence, repeating themselves, but you'll notice their confidence totally drops. And you did all of that just by refusing to take the bait.
Moving on to Battlefield 2, the ultimate negotiation tactic. Okay, let's shift from personal arguments to high-stakes environments, like business meetings and financial negotiations, where silence literally translates to cold, hard currency. Harvard negotiation research found this profound truth. The first person to speak after an offer almost always gives more away. Let that sink in for a second. In any negotiation, a strategic pause is worth infinitely more than any clever counteroffer you could possibly verbalize. When an offer is on the table, if you just give a slight nod, hold eye contact, and say absolutely nothing, the tension in that room spikes. The other person will almost immediately start sweetening the deal, literally negotiating against themselves just to break that suffocating silence.
Next up, Battlefield 3, Disarming Manipulators. This battlefield is all about using silence to fiercely protect your mental boundaries from people trying to play mind games. To do this, you have to understand how manipulators operate, and this comes straight from dark mind tactics. First, every single manipulation tactic out there requires your reaction to work. Manipulators feed off your emotion. They need you angry, defensive, or upset. Second, silence starves them of that engagement. When you just listen, give zero reaction, zero emotion, and no verbal engagement whatsoever, you literally cut off their oxygen. And third, giving them nothing fundamentally breaks their composure. Without your reaction, they have zero material to work with, and their whole web of tactics just crumbles to the ground.
So, what's the ultimate result of all this? Earning immediate respect.
Now that we've seen how silence works in arguments, negotiations, and against manipulation, let's look at the big picture social benefits. How does this actually change the way people perceive you? If we compare a chronic overtalker with someone who speaks rarely, the metrics shift dramatically. Social psychology research shows that people who speak less are rated as significantly more intelligent, much more trustworthy, and the overall value of their words shoots way up. I mean, think about it. When you aren't constantly filling the air with chatter, the moments you actually do choose to speak carry massive weight. People stop and listen because they intuitively know you only speak when it truly matters.
Let's get practical with the blueprint, the 3-second rule.
So how are we going to actually use this starting today? Let's go from theory to a practical blueprint. Step 1. In your very next conversation, notice that familiar, instant urge to jump in and defend yourself. Just feel that urge. Step 2. Instead of talking, force yourself to pause. Count it out in your head. 1, 2, 3. It's going to feel like an absolute eternity, but hold it. Step 3. Speak. Because you waited, those frantic, rushed thoughts are now transformed into calm, heavy statements that land with total clarity. The person across from you will visibly pay more attention. It takes immense discipline, but I'm telling you, it changes the entire dynamic.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to lock this core truth into your mind. The most powerful voice in any room is often the one you never hear. A quiet, steady presence commands the most space. When you can walk through a tough conversation completely anchored, completely calm, and totally silent when it counts, your presence becomes enormous. People will instinctively give you space, deference, and respect, and you won't even have to raise your voice a single decibel.
So I'll leave you with this one final question hanging in the air. What are you going to say with your silence today? The next time you walk into a room, remember this psychological toolkit you've just unlocked. If this explainer gave you some real value and shifted how you view communication, make sure you hit subscribe to learn more dark mind tactics. Turn on those notifications and share this with somebody who really needs to understand the true power of silence. Until next time, stay focused, stay calm, and use your silence strategically.